What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls podcast, coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck, joined by my guys, Big Dave, BAWL Sports, I'm going to fire hoodie, as always. Will the Goat Gottlieb, perfectly coiffed, Will_Gottlieb. Our pal producer on the controls is Joey Spathis, at Joey Spathis. Big show today, Combine Day 2.
Big show today.
Right here in Chicago. Will, you got to chat with a lot of these lottery prospects that were displaying their skills and chatting with the media earlier today. First up, we got to clear something up. Joe, is it your birthday today?
No.
Okay. We got to clear this up because you faked me out.
No, you started something.
You faked me out last weekend when I saw a post of yours that said 25 with a heart with you and your girlfriend on Instagram. And I was like, wait. I think I remembered that Joey's birthday is in the late spring because if you recall, it was nearing his birthday right before we sent him off to camp last summer, right? So, and I was like, but I didn't think it was this early in May. And then I just heard our guy Jay Zawoski from CHGO Blackhawks walk by Joey and say, hey, Joey, happy birthday.
So while I appreciate it, A, is not my birthday. It was not my birthday. It has not been my birthday yet, but you wishing me happy birthday led to some sort of train in the office where everybody thought it was my birthday. And so I came in yesterday and everyone was wishing me happy birthday. that wasn't. Yeah, so I had to tell everyone, hey, it's not my birthday.
But I didn't put that in the all company Slack channel. I texted you.
I was also confused as to how word had spread, and it was definitely not my birthday. And now Sean and Jay are like spreading the word that every day, so Sean yesterday and today, happy birthday, Jay, yesterday, today, happy birthday. So there's some disinformation going on.
Just wanted to clear that up because it's a big one.
It's interesting.
It's a big one.
I'm very intrigued by all of this.
What, for the record, sir, when is it specifically? What day?
My birthday is June 2nd.
June 2nd. Okay.
Okay. You'll be 21?
No, he'll be 25.
Yeah, no,
I'll be 25. 25.
Are you going to rent a car immediately?
No. I think, by the way, you can rent a car in a lot of states without being 25.
Really?
I was going to do it in Arizona.
Do you have to have a full-fledged adult riding shotgun next to you? Or?
No.
At 25, you can rent one.
I think at 21 and some states 18, you could rent one. I looked into it. I was going to do it when I was in Arizona. Mm-hmm. I know. I did. I'd rent a car in Arizona. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Salute to me.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony thinks that we need to get Joey some Portillo's for his birthday.
Joey, you want Portillo's for your birthday?
Sure. That'd be great.
What do you want?
Stick 25 candles in a dripping beef sandwich.
You'd allow that?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh shit. What do you want for your birthday?
I don't want anything particular. Just want to enjoy the day.
That's it?
Spend some time with friends, family. I think it's a Sunday this year.
Okay.
Just cool. So
you want time with friends and family?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
That's the wrong answer,
so
Joe.
Wholesome.
You got to make a birthday wish. I'll make it for you if you want.
Well,
hey, Jerry, sell the Bulls. There's your birthday wish.
I would say, if we're doing wishes and, sort of supernatural wish, yeah, I mean, one of them would definitely be that the Bulls could figure it the fuck out and sort of, fall. I don't say solve this problem because I don't think that's it's like fall into some answer accidentally.
Fall ass backwards.
Correct.
Frank Kramer your way.
Somehow
into being better.
Accidentally become better because I don't think that they would ever consciously make a decision.
That's usually how it goes with bad ownership. They fall and Kramer their way. The Knicks, great example. They kind of Kramer their way into shit.
Knicks, big game 5 tonight.
Yeah, it's big game 5.
Knicks, Pacers Garden. Can't wait.
Playing.
There's still basketball going on?
Still basketball being played. And not just at the draft combine where people are just running and leaping and whacking sticks to see how
Will's playing that game.
tall they can jump.
out of bodies.
Shout out to Larry who said, it's all good. It's my dad's birthday today, Peck. Happy birthday to your dad,
man.
Larry.
Happy birthday.
Matthew said, talk about the reports of the Bulls wanting to re-sign DeMar and stay competitive. Listen to any of the episodes we did at the back half of April, and you can get your dose of that.
An awesome photo there, Matthew. Awesome photo of you, sir.
But the combine's going on, and that's more interesting than talking about the same dumb the Bulls are going to sign DeMar to a new contract shit over and over again.
Bulls.
So
Will was at the combine.
let's talk about the fact that Will was at the combine today talking to a lot of these prospects. Will, what was the most interesting name? Where do you want to start? You talked to a lot of people, including players that are projected in that 10 to 15 range where the Bulls have that 11th pick. Cody Williams you talked to, Kyle Filipowski you talked to. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think it'd be cool to just kind of like give people a lay of the land and like kind of explain
Lay away.
what it's like and how it's going. But basically, today they did media, and I believe this is going to be the only day where they do media availability with the players. But it's in McCormick Place in like one of the conference halls. So you got there. It started at 9. I was there at like 8:30, and they basically have like a bunch of different tables out and just guys sitting at each table. They're there for 20 minutes, and you can just go up and talk to them. And there's maybe 10 or 15 guys out at a time.
Okay.
After 20 minutes, they line change, everybody out. 15 new guys come in and sit down. And so you're just like kind of talking with a bunch of people. There's like a huge group of people going over to Alex Sark, the presumptive number 1 pick. A lot of people going up to some of the more kind of Zach Edey types and the big names in the draft.
Okay.
But some guys were just kind of like sitting there by themselves. So like I went over to Rob Dillingham, who played at Kentucky last year. I think he's probably going to be a top 5 pick. This dude is tiny. I mean, he measured 6'1" and 167, so really small, but just this awesome personality, super like just enthusiastic, charismatic guy. He's like telling jokes. He's telling us stories from when he was growing up. So I thought he was really cool. But it was just kind of like this strange little media setting that I hadn't really seen before. So yeah, kind of like speed dating there, Brooms. But yeah, I mean, we can start with anybody. Maybe Cody Williams. I think he's kind of in the Bulls range. I think he's very much an Arturas type of player, right? You got the toolsy, long, lanky wing who can kind of dribble, pass, shoot, can maybe not do any of those things very well. We'll see. But I thought he was just really like thoughtful, really smart, and very like self-aware. I mean, he said he admires Jaden McDaniels. I think like when you have that kind of awareness of, I'm not going to like come in and beat Kevin Durant. Like everybody asked everybody who their like favorite player was growing up. Everybody said Kevin Durant. But some of them were like, yeah, obviously it's KD, but like I kind of do more of the Jaden McDaniels stuff. That's more of my game. That's how I'm going to make a living. So I thought that was really cool. But we talked a little bit about his upbringing. Obviously, his brother Jalen Williams is with the Thunder. They're playing in the playoffs right now.
Yep.
I was kind of asking him like, did you guys play one-on-one a lot growing up? Who was winning? He's like, yeah, of course he beat me. He's the older brother. But we're going to try this again in a couple years. So I really liked him. I thought he was like, smart and thoughtful, but also like had some personality. I think he's somebody that I think would be in kind of the 9 to 12 range, which is exactly where the Bulls are. Yeah,
he actually, I mean, as of the current composite mock that's in your draft database right now, Will, pick number 11, Cody Williams.
There it is.
Joe, I believe you have a snippet of Will chatting with Cody Williams earlier today at the Combine, if you want to pull that up and play it.
I believe correct.
Jalen really improved his stock here at the Combine during his draft year. What kind of advice has he given you, or is there any wisdom he imparted on you to try to help you do the same?
Really just kill everybody, kill every drill, compete your hardest for everything. That's what they like to see. As far as these workouts go, it's hard, especially if you're doing one-on-one workouts. It's hard to really treat every game, like a game rep. But that's something you have to do if you want to be, go to the next level and be elite. So really, his whole thing is just locking in and attack every drill, every rep like it's a game.
Did you guys play a lot of one-on-one growing up, and if so, who won?
I don't know about growing up. Yeah, we did in workouts and stuff. When I got, towards the end of high school, we never really did, just because he was getting ready for the league and didn't want anyone to roll ankle or something silly. But, yeah, I mean, growing up, he won the one-on-ones. I mean, he's older stronger. Yeah, so I say in a few years we're gonna have to test it out. Once I'm still 19, basically like I'm 12. But once I get older, we'll test that out again.
How do you see yourself succeeding at the NBA level? Thinking specifically on the offensive end, like what are the things that you do best? How do you think you can make the most impact at the next level?
I think my size, being a big guard, just allows me to see defenders and make plays, especially with my length. Get pocket passes or just hook passes out of the corners, stuff like that will really help me out. The spacing also allow me to show my versatility, allow me to get downhill more. Just because, like in college, they can just sit someone in the lane with this defensive 3 seconds. So I feel like that helps me out a lot. Yeah, I think just the spacing is the biggest thing, allow me to make plays for others, plays for myself.
With your jumper, I think you were like 41% from 3 this year, but it was a little bit lower volume. Where is your confidence level with the jump shot? How good do you think you can be? And is that something that's been kind of a primary focus for you in this process?
Yeah, I know I can shoot it, and I know I'll get better shooting it just by reps. That's really the biggest thing. Shooting is just reps, shooting at the same time every time. Mechanics, rhythm, confidence. So I know as long as I do that, my jump shot will be improving, so I'm not worried about it. And it has made great strides. I mean, we track all my shots from my workouts in Santa Barbara, so I can see how much better I'm getting shooting it. Just like I said, I know that'll come, so I'm really just focusing on the defensive end, just getting elite there.
What do you feel like?
That was Cody Williams, Colorado product, chatting with our guy, the GOAT, earlier today, day 2 of the Combine. Made the Pac-12 All-Freshman team. You mentioned his shooting when you were chatting with him, Will. 41.5% in his lone Colorado season, but you mentioned that he had a modest volume in your big board on that GOAT draft database available to CHGO diehards only. You have pointed out that his 3-point attempt rate was just over 21%,
which is low.
Which is pretty darn low. You love the fact that his true shooting percentage was 62. That's massive. I also do like the fact that his free throw attempt rate was nearly 40%.
Okay.
So he does show some of that aggressiveness and willingness to create points the good old-fashioned way. Correct. But, I mean, Will, do you see him as someone who can, at the NBA level, turn that three-point efficiency that he displayed in college into something that he can become like a get up 6, 7, 8 threes a game kind of player?
I think this is a question about not just Cody, but like a lot of the wings in this draft in particular, because a lot of them have a lot of skills, but it's also like, well, if you like, they'll have a lot of skills in the sense that they have some interesting shot creation abilities, whether it's in transition, passing, just like getting downhill and driving, face up game. Like there's some interesting skill sets there. And I think Cody has a lot of that stuff, but if he's not so good that he commands the ball as much as he would maybe need to in order to score at that level, he has to be able to shoot, to be able to play off ball, and to be able to kind of be part of that team, part of like a cohesive offensive flow. And so, obviously 41% on threes is a great number, but like the volume is almost as much of an indicator because that's telling you how confident he is in his shot, how much of a weapon the team expects that to be from him. And so with that being a low number, I think it's a little bit of a red flag. Watching him shoot around yesterday, I didn't think anything was like seriously wrong with his jumper, but it didn't look to me like it was like something that was wrong? Yeah, I mean, it looked like a fine shot. It looked fluid, but it also felt like a little bit clunky is maybe not the best word, but just, he was a little bit inconsistent with it. And I think that's just going to be a challenge for him because he's going to have to get to the point where he's shooting 4 or 5 or 6 threes per 36 minutes to be able to generate those closeouts to where he can put the rest of those skills on display, as we've talked about with guys like Patrick and Ayo and Dalen Terry. I think. So go ahead.
With that being said, did it surprise you hearing him say he doesn't think shooting is going to be an issue at all for him?
Well, I think that was kind of a theme for all these guys. It's like they all know. Like I talked with Matas Buzelis about this too, from the G League Ignite. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not worried about my jumper. I shot 44% in high school. Like I'm good." And
wait, what? Really?
Yeah,
but only shot 27% for the Ignite last season.
And so I think a lot of these guys are just kind of like tired of talking about it. But it's like this is your one chance to talk with the media. Like that question is going to get asked, and you have to be able to answer it. And I think Cody's answer was like, I'm working on it. I know it's an important piece of my game, but like I'm confident that will come because I'm putting in the work. What I really want to get good at is the defensive end. What I really want to be able to like get to another level is the defensive stuff. And like Ron Holland talked about it. All these guys really, I think they all have kind of similar flaws in the sense that their jump shot is not reliable, and they know that's going to have to be a huge part of their game, but they also believe that work and like energy and investment into your shot equals improvement. And so they know they're putting in that level of effort and practice into their shot, and that's why they're confident and comfortable with their shot getting better.
Can the Bulls afford to get another player whose shot isn't there? That might be.
I think that is a great question.
Okay.
No.
I think it's a great question because
that's a great answer.
you look at this draft and it's like, you either take one of these guys who's like toolsy and raw, and has potential and like can do stuff with the ball in their hands but struggles to shoot.
Yeah.
Or you take one of these guys that can only shoot.
Yeah. I
And
want the
that's
only shoot guy.
I'll
take
that's
that.
kind of the problem.
If
Like
we have to watch one more person in those summer league games in Vegas throwing threes off the side of the backboard, I'm going to go berserk and kill something.
But I think also like the reason why we watched that last year was because Dalen's also not very good at dribbling the ball.
Yeah.
He can't really break guys down and get to the rim. I think a guy like Cody, Montes Buzelis, Ron Holland, those three guys in particular who all kind of have similar flaws in the sense that their shooting is really suspect, I think they're going to be able to get to the basket at a higher level, which to me makes their floor a little bit higher. And that's where you bet on the rest of their skills kind of coming together with the jump shot, as opposed to, I like that this guy's an athlete, but like he can't dribble. He cannot get to the basket. He cannot create his own shot. Well, now we're trying to build him into the shooter. But if you can't do that, then like what is he doing for you on offense? And I think that's the question. Or you could go with a Dalton Connect, who's a great shooter, but he's 23 years old. Maybe the upside isn't quite as high. And is he going to be able to, like, is that really worth the investment at the 11th overall pick?
Yes.
I think for some teams, yes. For some teams, no.
For Matt, no.
For some situations, yes. For some situations, no. But that is a question the Bulls are going to have to ask themselves through this process because there isn't a perfect prospect in this draft.
Yes,
there just isn't.
Exactly.
We got to take our first break there. We will come back and dive into plenty more prospects that Goat talked to today, including UConn national champion Stefan Castle. You mentioned Montes Buzelis, Hinsdale Central product, and the big man from Duke, Kyle Filipowski. We can touch on all of them after this break. Hit that like button if you're hanging out with us on YouTube. Don't forget also to subscribe to CHGO Sports YouTube channel if you aren't already. Big Dave, who do we have first today?
Top of the morning.
Oh, hello.
Hello there. What's going on, Bumbleclads? Are you ready to soak up the summer vibes and unveil your beach body? Well, you're in luck because Manscaped have you covered from head to toe with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. This ultimate all-in-one grooming kit is said to have you looking and feeling good. It's summer sun. Trust Manscaped and unblock your confidence that you need to turn heads on the beach this season, Lord of mercy. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get yourself 20% off and free shipping when you use the code BULLS. Let's make summer one of your smoothest yet, that boy. I went full Jamaican on that. Embrace your summer vibe goals with our all-inclusive Performance Package 5.0. It is perfect for those aiming for that crisp, clean, and confident Joey Spathis look. The updated Lawnmower 5.0 growing and body hair trimmer got you a summer makeover right there in your hip pocket because it's waterproof and designed for splashy pool parties and beach hangouts. And you can keep those ears and nose tidy as you trim those hedges with that Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. Those pesky hairs, be gone, boy. Get 20% off and free shipping with that code BULLS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BULLS at manscaped.com. The summer sun is here to stay, so trust Manscaped to keep the pubes away. Boy.
Right near the beach.
Tell me about it.
You know who's got a pool?
Leopard
We
Mac?
should just show up there sometime.
Trojo?
Our guy Greg Braggs.
Oh, Braggs?
The only reason I know that is because he posted a shirtless picture of himself in his pool smoking a stogie the other day.
Let's just show up at his house then.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm down for this. I love a good pop in on Braggs.
Let's bring him a lawnmower 4.0. Make sure we keep that pool pube free.
Good morning.
Today's CHGO Bulls also brought to you by our friends at Circa Sportsbook, who offer those tight money line splits and their low hold model, striving to always have starting out odds for game, spreads, point total over-unders, and more at -110, unlike a lot of their competitors, other sportsbooks, using starting odds of -115 or -120 for no gosh darn good reason at all. They also, of course, have the best customer service in the business.
Yes.
Real people behind that Circus Sports brand who resolve any issues you might have in a timely fashion, unlike other sports bettors who use the dreaded chatbots.
Boo.
Oh my gosh, I was talking to some robot the other day.
Okay.
And it was a non-Circa sportsbook. That's what it was.
Okay.
Because I use Circa and I use a few different ones to make different kinds of bets. And it was a different sports book. I will not name which one.
Jerks.
And I had an issue with a withdrawal.
Okay.
And I talked to a robot for like 6 or 7 exchanges in their little like chat function before I said, after repeating myself, "Can I talk to a human, please?" And then they gave me a human to talk to. Circa won't do that to you.
They will not.
They will say, "Hey, here's a human." Humans are good at talking.
Yes, they are.
Better than robots.
Shout out to humans.
All aspects of that Circa app are being run by the same team that run the main Circa Sportsbook at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. We got 2 Game 5s tonight. 2 series tied 2-2. Knicks Pacers, Game 5. Wolves Nugs,
Wolves
Game
Nugs.
5.
Wolf Dogs.
What more could you ask for as a sports bettor? Get your picks in. Who's covering the spread? Point total over unders. Make those bets at Circa before tonight's games tip off. 7 p.m. Central is that Knicks Pacers tip off. Download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa's events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Text GAMB to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com.
I kind of want to add on to the question I asked earlier.
Okay.
And I want to kind of broaden it a little bit. What is, because you, like you said, you're either toolsy and missing something or you're perfect at something. So,
I would say perfect, but
or great. Like that's what you do.
Specialist.
You know what I mean? You're exactly specialist. Great word. What kind of, if you had to choose, what kind of specialist would you want to draft in this for the Bulls? A specialist shooter, a specialist rim protector? Like, what kind of specialist are you like, yes, I got to have that right there?
I mean, I don't know if this is too greedy of an answer, but I would say a shot creator / shot maker.
Okay. That's a skill. That's a special skill.
I feel like the Bulls don't really have a full-fledged, beautiful version of that.
Yeah.
We saw Kobe White kind of improve himself in both of those categories.
Right.
But the Bulls need both of those things.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel too. I mean, it's a similar thing to what we talked about yesterday with like my stance that it would be okay to take a guard. Like, I think, I was talking to our friend Ricky O'Donnell today. He was at the combine as well.
Ricky!
And we were talking about Daniel Gafford, your guys' guy.
Mm-hmm.
And like the success that he's having this year, in a lot of ways, I don't think would be possible on the Bulls because they don't have an elite lob thrower.
They do not.
And that's
We do
why
not
he
have a
wasn't as
Luka.
good.
We are fresh
Yeah,
out of
Many
Lucas.
times, yes.
With the Bulls,
He
and
needs
it's
a
why
point
he
guard.
wasn't as good
Yes.
with the Wizards. Like,
No,
so-
not until they got Westbrook. When they got a point guard, he started snapping.
right. But like this past year, I mean,
Right, correct.
and Tyus Jones is good, but like he really popped when he had one of the best passers in the game,
Right.
throwing him lobs.
Right.
And I think, like, instead of saying, well, that just means that we need more rim protection, we need a bouncy center. Instead, what you should be thinking is, well, what does it say about our team that we can't optimize a guy like that because we don't have a guy who can pass or create a shot?
Yeah.
And like, I think that still has to be, I don't know if that is going to be an answerable question in this draft, just because I don't think the talent is there. And certainly the Bulls aren't drafting in a position where they can potentially even get that guy, because it's very hard to do at 11, not impossible, but hard to do. So to me, that still has to be the priority. I'm not sure they'll be able to find it in the draft. And I think with this draft in particular, this conversation of like best player versus fit, I think there might have to be like a reframing of the perspective, because there just aren't a lot of I think fit is going to determine how good a player is in this draft. For
Okay.
example, a guy like Rob Dillingham or Reed Shepherd, the Kentucky guards, like both of them are flawed. Dillingham's super small. I mean, I think I said 6'1", 167 were his measurements. Reed Shepherd's like 6'1", 2. different skills, but like both obviously incredibly talented players. So, but can they succeed independent of what their situation is? I don't know. I think if you put them in a team like the Rockets or something where you've got Jabari Smith and Amen Thompson and all these like really good, Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, these like really good defensive players around them, they can survive in that way to where you're optimizing their skills. But if you just throw Reed Shepherd on the Bulls and say, you're the new point guard of the future, run the show, like he's going to struggle in that. That's not who his game is. And so the best player for the Bulls might not be the best player for the Rockets or for the Wizards or for, the Jazz. I think situation will matter in this draft in particular, maybe more than others. But I think what that's kind of indicating to me is there's so many areas of need for the Bulls. And you can say, well, let's get a shooter, let's get a rim protector, let's get some athleticism. Like, yeah, that's great. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the infrastructure to be able to absorb other talent and make that talent as best as it can be, like that's a huge problem that needs addressing. And I feel like, I don't know if there's a way to do that without doing a full teardown. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But to me, like that's the big question that needs to be answered. And I think that's a much bigger question than just this draft.
Sure.
So I know it's kind of a convoluted way of not answering your question, but ultimately, like I do agree with Matt that like scoring and shot creation is the most important skill.
But I like how you said like it depends on the team. Basically, that's something. Fit is something you usually look for later in the round in other drafts. But this one, you've got to go for it early. So that's a great point, sir.
You also chatted with Stefan Castle today. Maybe among the people there projected to go the highest, possibly top 5. Has that that glow of national champion. He was rookie of the year for the Big East. I do like that he has pretty decent size for a backcourt player. He's 6'6", he's 215. Definitely projects to be a solid defensive guard. And some of the stats in his big board that you have in your database back that up. He can distribute. He can get to the free throw line. Talking about the Bulls' need for shooting, low three-point attempt rate, low three-point percentage. What do you make of the fact that he is as high as he is on most people's boards?
I think because all these players are flawed in some way or another, like you're just looking for – you're not necessarily looking for that star player, but you're looking for the guy that checks the most boxes. And I think Castle's got to be up there. I know Joey's super high on him. I've been high on him too. Like I think those bigger wing players that can guard 1 through 3, maybe a little bit of 4, and can be a primary ball handler and can like defend at a high level and be a passer. Like that's the kind of player I want to start building around. He kind of gives me like shades of young Jimmy Butler, just in the sense that like he doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. He can pass. He can defend at a high level, and he's a big wing. And he was saying to me today, like, I've always been trying to play the 1, but he's been kind of fitting into other positions, whether it is kind of what his high school situation was or with UConn where he's kind of more of a slasher and off-ball player. Like, I think there's some untapped potential there, and I think teams are kind of seeing that too. But even if not, he's going to be able to fill a role, right? Because he's already done that at a high level, and doing so, he's going to defend, and he's going to just try to impact winning in whatever way that he can. I think that says a lot about his character and the kind of player that he wants to be. And I think that's why teams are showing interest. I also think just in terms of, maybe like the least possible weaknesses or something like that is kind of a way to think about it, where he's just like at a high level in so many different areas that, yes, the jump shot is a problem. I think he did shoot well yesterday at some of the combined shooting tests. I can pull that up as I'm talking here, but I think he just does a lot of stuff at a high level, and his willingness to do whatever it takes to win, I think, is really compelling.
Joey, you said you were high on Castle. I don't know if this is too complex of a question.
Been high on him. I've been talking. That's one of the guys I've been talking about for a while.
So what do you see his fit being like if the Bulls go with this guy? Like, how does he fit?
I just think, he's a guy that I think you could pop on any roster. He's going to find a way to contribute, as evidenced by what he did at UConn, where there was a logjam. There's a lot of talent, and he gets on the court, and he just finds a way, mostly defensively at UConn. I think one of the best defenders in college in at least a couple seasons, really athletic. But you saw in a couple games, I think against Alabama, he's finding ways to score when they couldn't really score a ton. I mean, I don't know he's going to be a dominant scorer, but I think he's going to be a high-level connective player at the next level and just find a way to impact winning. and he's done so at a young age, and I think has a mature mindset from being willing to buy into what the team needs. And yeah, I'd bet on that pedigree and athleticism and some of the traits that he could become at the high floor just for a role player.
Interesting. Okay.
And just looking at some of his numbers here on NBA.com, the website is being kind of wonky, so they're not showing everything. But from the left corner three, which is what they have right now, he shot 44% at the combine, which sounds good, but it's actually towards the bottom. But at the same time, he shot 56% on off the dribble college break left threes, so above the break shots off the dribble, and then 72% on the move college three, which was tied for the fourth highest. So I think when he gets going, he can shoot it, but there are some inconsistencies there. I would expect he goes before the Bulls have a chance to take him.
Yeah.
But that's a guy I'm very high on.
Okay.
Someone who might fall a bit further currently in your composite mock draft, I believe slotted at 8th, someone else you talked to today, is Chicago-born Montas Buzelis, who played for G League Ignite this past season, bounced around a lot in his high school career, but it did include starting out at Hinsdale Central before he transferred out east and then finished his high school career at a high school in Kansas. But somebody who a lot of people are interested in this draft class for a variety of reasons, shooting ability, size, sort of that new mold 6'10" wing kind of player who can do a lot of different things for your team offensively, and might be able to guard multiple positions. What did you make of your chat with him, and what do you make of his game, Will?
I think he's a really interesting prospect. He kind of came in, billed as this like big kind of point forward, do it all guy who could really shoot it.
A Tony Kukoc, if you will.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities there, but he did not shoot the ball well at the G League Ignite level. He was, where is this? He was only 27% from three, and did it on low volume as well, under 28% three-point attempt rate. So that's going to be a big question there, but he's put on a lot of muscle. He's added a lot of strength. His vertical was super high, really bouncy, good athlete, has kind of gained a lot of strength, but at times I think he still kind of avoids physicality in the game and doesn't necessarily draw fouls at the rate that he would need to, only an 18% free throw attempt rate in his G League season. But I also think at times he kind of tries to show that he can draw that physicality, that he can play through contact to where he's only looking for contact, and that can make him go a little bit out of control in just the small amount of film that I've watched on him. So very tantalizing skill set. I could see him going high and fitting into a team like the Pistons, or even like, the Rockets maybe at 3. He's a guy that could kind of slide in there and fit alongside some of their other bigger wings that they seem to like with Cam Whitmore and Tari Eason and Jabari Smith. I think he's a really unique player, but again, it comes down to the shooting, similar to Castle, similar to Cody Williams and Ron Holland. Like, is that shooting going to allow him to be off the ball? And if not, is he going to be so good on the ball that he warrants that kind of usage? Because if he has to stand out in the corner and space the floor, but he can't shoot, he's not being guarded, and now you're playing 4-on-5, and that is a recipe for disaster. So I think it's a big question for him, but defensively, I think his instincts were pretty good. He blocked a lot of shots last year. I think he could be a good player, but it's a huge question about the shooting.
He had a big moment, probably his biggest moment, honestly, of the season came in the Rising Stars Challenge when they beat he was on the Ignite team that beat Wembanyama's team, and he hit the game-winning shot.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
that's
he
right.
actually had a little bit of a jump in the spotlight, and I thought you could see some of the flashes of the shot creation and off the bounce stuff in that challenge. So I thought that was an interesting thing to go back on for him.
Joe, I believe you also have a little snippet of Will's conversation with Montas from earlier today, and he talked about the possibility of being drafted by his quote-unquote hometown team, Chicago Bulls.
Goat snip.
Growing up in Chicago area, is playing for the Bulls something you kind of dreamed about as a kid, and would that be a good landing spot for you?
I definitely used to watch the Bulls. I used to go to all the games, but I feel wherever I go, I'm going to fit in.
Where do you? I know you're much more accurate in high school level from three. I think like over 40%. Obviously, in this G League season, weren't quite there. But where would you kind of assess yourself as a shooter right now? And what's kind of like when you picture yourself at the highest level that you're able to get to in your career? Like, what does that look like for you as a jump shooter?
The jump shots didn't show this year, but I know I can shoot the ball. Like, I go to bed thinking I can shoot the ball, so I'm not really tripping, about the numbers. I shot 45% from three. It's just an adjustment how far the line is, and the conditioning and the physicality against Ignite and G League guys.
Yeah, how do you think that physicality kind of prepared you? I mean, you put on a lot of muscle. Obviously, the athleticism really pops at the combine, and just in those games. Is that something you feel like that can be a strength for you at the NBA level? Is just getting through that physicality and that grind of a season?
Definitely. They definitely prepared us, throughout the year. Coach Hart did an amazing job. It's just with the shooting, it's just reps, and the physicality and the conditioning. It's just you just keep working and it's gonna get there eventually.
He said the comments said, "Well, I appreciate his confidence. Billy wouldn't have to tell him to shoot." Wow, I mean, you weren't kidding, Will. That's someone who said, "Yeah, I know I shot like crap in the G League, but I'm not worried.
I'm great."
I mean, I don't know if I buy it, but it's certainly a display of confidence.
Yeah, and you want to see that level of confidence in a young player who is going to be a top 10 pick for sure. Like, that's the kind of confidence you need to have in yourself. I was a little surprised at the way that he kind of responded, just because, like, I'm sure he's been asked about this a million times, but like, that was your chance to talk with reporters about it. And, I wasn't even the first reporter to go up to him, so maybe he had already answered that a couple of times. But the numbers show what the numbers show, and that's going to be a question for him. That's a question a lot of teams are talking about, and a lot of maybe the skepticism about him coming from teams is going to be the reason why he doesn't go number one overall, which is where he was projected at the start of the year. So I think it's a big deal, not just like for him, but for anybody. Like, all these kids are 18, 19, 20 years old.
Right, yeah.
They were 13 when the Warriors won their championship. Like, they grew up in this era of three-pointers and, space and pace and the three-point revolution. Like, it's just kind of crazy to me that these guys aren't working on that, and that shouldn't be a question about any of these players, let alone like the top ones, right? Because it's like that's the NBA they grew up in. Like, that's the game that they need to play. And you have the ball in your hands a lot. Maybe you're not just like spacing the floor, but it's a big part of the NBA game. And that's where these guys have kind of oriented themselves from a young age, even going to the NBL for Alex Sarr, or OTE for Dillingham and Sarr the year before. G League Ignite, like, they all know shooting is the recipe to getting minutes, because you're not sure what's going to happen. Just with the talent around you at the NBA level, like, you may not have the ball in your hands as much. How do you impact the game when you don't have the ball? Shooting and defense.
It's the thing.
He really seemed fairly what?
Said quickly. You know what I really like?
What
Will said, "I saw you put on some muscle there." And he was, damn right I did. You're right.
Yeah, he's very, very proud of that.
Seemed fairly indifferent about the hometown Bulls connection. I think he spun it to a way of like, hey, I'll fit in anywhere. Whichever team drafts me, I'll fit in there. And he said, yeah, I went to the games growing up. I watched the Bulls growing up. Yeah. But there are some Chicago kids who come out of G League, overseas pros or college, wherever, when they're coming into the draft, and they will tell you if it is their dream to play for their hometown Bulls. Didn't seem like that to me. Reagan in the comments saying, Mata's trying to delicately be like, well, I was there because they were close, but the Bulls weren't watchable growing up, which is crazy. You mentioned the ages of some of these guys, Will. He will be, Mata's Buzelis will turn 20 in a couple of months, I think. So if you do that math, that means he was born in 2004. That means he was 6 or 7 years old when Derrick Rose was having his MVP season and the Bulls went to the conference finals. So he mostly watched a bunch of shit Bulls growing up. So I can't blame him if he's not a big Bulls fan. All right, we got to take our second break there. More talk on some of these combine prospects on the other side. We still got to get to Kyle Filipowski, the big man from Duke. I know a lot of you Bulls fans, some of you out there in the comments today talking about we still need a big man. So we'll talk about him coming up next on the other side. Dave, who's next?
Pizza.
Pizza.
I like it.
Love it. Need it.
Everybody got to have it. You can't be in this city without it. You got to have pizza, and you got to have the right pizza. You got that official pizza. And the place that's official, in our opinion, is Salerno's on Tap. Oh, it's that good that I just made noises because it's that damn good.
Those are pizza noises.
Pizza noises, yes. Or when Goat asks an awesome question, the same kind of noise, all of that. Oh, it all works out. Salerno's on Tap, 1201 West Grand Avenue in Chicago's West Town. They have that awesome tavern-style pizza that we love. And you can go there and get some of that with some delicious ice-cold beers. So whether you're headed to the game, want to watch it live on one of their big screens that they'll have there, or you just want to pick that up, take it home, they got you covered anyway. Coming and going and coming. They got you covered. Pew-pew. Go to Salerno'sPizza.com or call 312-666-3444. That's 312-666-3444. Mention CHGO and get your wonderful self 50% off your pizza. Half, Eddie. 50% off of your pizza is what you're going to get. CHGO. Mention it. They got you. Salerno's on Tap. Grand Avenue location. Eat there.
Dave, you know what goes great with pizza?
Talking to Kevin.
Sure.
Okay.
What do you need to wash it down, though? Beer!
Ice cold.
Ice
Cold lager, cold filter.
Cold lager, cold filter, Coors Light.
Cold package.
Oh, it's cold package too, Joe, which is important because you can get it delivered straight to your door. Between work, social media, the NBA Combine, choices life throw our way, it's no wonder sometimes we can be a little stressed out, a little worked up.
A little bit.
Coors Light celebrates rising above those moments and choosing for yourself a chill mindset. And then being there for you to help you enjoy that chill mindset, celebrate it by cracking a crisp, cold, refreshing Coors Light. Why not turn a rained-out barbecue into a karaoke house party? We know Dave's got songs.
Plenty.
We know the GOAT's got some numbers ready to go.
A million.
He just needs a cold Coors Light. Reach for it. It's mountain cold refreshment. When the mountains turn blue on that Coors Light bottle, that Coors Light can, or these cool cups they gave us, you know that the beer inside is as cold as the Rockies and ready to drink. When you embrace a chill mindset, whatever you're doing, stressful day, end of that day, say it's time to chill. Coors Light, cracking one, will help you out and find and really harness that chill mindset. Make the most of those times you choose to chill by cracking a Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Hey, Julia.
Where beautiful women instinctively flock like the women of Capistrano. Aspen. How close is Aspen to Golden? Do we know that?
Oh, that's a great question. Kevin, how close is Aspen, Colorado to Golden, Colorado?
Shrug.
Yeah, what the hell are you asking me for? That's what that shrug said.
We should ask
What are you asking me?
We should ask our Denver friends. All right, guys, back to Combine action from today. You also chatted with the Duke big man, Kyle Filipowski. Hell of a resume. Twice named to the All-ACC team.
Not close.
Not close.
Thank you,
3 hours, 20 minutes.
3 hours ain't that
20,
bad.
3.5 hours by car? All right, well,
It's not that bad.
you can do that in half a day.
Yeah.
Kyle Filipowski, ACC tournament MVP in addition to those two-time All-ACC selections for Duke. 7 foot, 250. This dude has size. And do you want to just jump right into some of what he told you today when you were talking with him, Will, and then we can react to it? Because I really liked a lot of what he had to say.
Yeah, let's roll the video.
Let's roll that video of Filipowski, Joe.
Filipowski.
When you think about getting to like the highest level that you can possibly get to at some point in your career, what does that look like for you with regards to shooting and spacing out the court from three, and then also kind of like acting as a facilitator and passing hub?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, those are big strengths of mine. I think those are really important to my game and what I'm going to bring to a team. So just being able to make those strengths stronger every day and just really try to perfect those. I think it'll be really important to who I am as a player, but also the successfulness of the team.
Are there players where you say like this guy kind of does a lot of the stuff that I want to be able to do, or I can see a lot of myself in this guy as, whether it's that passing hub from the elbow or being a floor spacer.
Yeah. Obviously, with the IQ, I love watching Jokic and just, playing through the top of the key or just, playing within himself, or even Luka a little bit, just with how, he may not be the quickest guy, but, he uses his strengths to his advantage with his IQ and his, ability to just read the floor so well. And then I think Lauri Markkanen has a lot of dominance and how he shoots the ball and how he attacks, just similar to me.
What about defensively? I think that's like a big question, not just with you, but like all centers nowadays. Like you got to be able to switch, you got to be able to play drop, you got to be able to get up to touch.
Yeah.
What do you kind of see yourself doing best, and where are some areas where you still feel like you need to grow in that department?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is for these past couple of years, I was in different positions at Duke, so I learned all of those different coverages, and I'm super comfortable with the switching. I think I've gotten a lot better at that, and I've played drop a lot this year. I've played up to touch this past year too. So I mean, just being able to do those different things, it'll give the team a lot of choices of how they want to play their defense.
That was Duke prospect Kyle Filipowski. Really interesting stuff there. And, Goat, I'm sure a lot of our fellow Bulls fans' ears perked up at the mention of a certain name that he dropped when he's talking about comparing his game to current NBA players, that being Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah. I thought, he just seemed like the kind of guy that was like both really self-aware of his skill set, what he can do well, and where he needs to improve, but also seemed really confident in his abilities. And I really thought that, more than really anybody else I talked to, it seemed like he just kind of got it. And I really like that. I mean, I am not super high on him as a prospect that I would want at 11, just because I think, there's some other center prospects that I'm a little bit more interested in, but also, is it better to use a $5 million draft slot on a backup center, or is it better to maybe sign a veteran minimum guy that can give you the same kind of production? If you feel like Filipowski can be your long-term starting center and maybe come off the bench for a year and before you figure out what to do with Vooch, sure. He can shoot it a little bit more. He can make. His assists per 75 possessions are much better than, Klingon's or Edie's or Alex Sarr. He can shoot the three a little bit, 35% in college, and he got up 25.7 three-point attempt rate. So I think stylistically, at least what the numbers are saying, is that he is a little bit more versatile. But I think there are also questions about his defense and whether he can be mobile enough, and whether he does, like, we've seen what can happen if you are a jack of all trades but master of none.
Facts.
That's what the situation is with Vooch at this point.
Yeah.
Where he is good at some stuff, but he's just not so good that he commands the ball in the post, or that you can play through him as a passing hub from the top of the key or the elbow, or that you can rely on him to be a floor spacer. Like, are you going to run into a similar situation with Filipowski where he's got some tantalizing skills, but it's just not good enough to where he's like a real threat, a real weapon in any of those areas? I was definitely impressed with him, and I think he's done some good stuff. He had good size in his measurements at the combine. I think he could be a player, but I think it's just a matter of like the value proposition at 11. Is it better to take a backup center there, or find one of those guys, on the free agent market for a veteran's minimum? It'll depend on what direction the Bulls go. If they want to keep running it back, maybe go for Drummond. If they want to start to transition towards a different area, then they have to decide, is this the kind of center that we want to build around? Or is it somebody who's more of a rim roller and lob catcher? Is it somebody that's more of a pure three-point shooter that can really space out the floor? I think those are some questions. Like, I think maybe more than any other position, maybe I'll regret saying this, but maybe more than any other position, like the center shapes what you can be, because it determines how you play defense. It determines how you play offense. It determines how the floor is spaced.
Yeah.
Is it vertical spacing? Is it three-point spacing? Can you just not do that at all, and now you got to play through them in the post? Like, so much of a center's skill set determines who you can be as a team on both sides of the ball. I think it's a really delicate decision you have to come to. And it could be Filipowski. Maybe they get back into the draft a little bit later and you feel better about that. Who knows?
I mean, we were talking about another big man on yesterday's show, popular name among a lot of Midwestern folk, Zach Edey of Purdue. Eco Bean suggesting trade down. Dredd saying I think he was referring to Filipowski there, not falling to 11, no way. Composite mocks have Edey in the early 20s and 22, I believe, and Filipowski at 17 on your draft database composite mock will. So, like, again, I don't love necessarily the idea of reaching for a big man if these collective mock drafts are accurate enough that we all feel like it would be a significant reach at 11 to take a big man whose skill sets might be limited for the NBA play, who might be more suited to be going in the back third of the first round. I just don't know if I love that idea.
Here's the other thing, too, and, Will, I think you touched on this before, like not today, but just previously. I want to know what Billy Donovan kind of feels and AK kind of feels, because it feels like they don't connect the same when it comes to that as far as the center position. And I'm saying that because I'm thinking of Billy Donovan's older teams when he was with OKC.
Yeah.
Those kind of teams. He never had a quote-unquote dynamic center who could do a little bit of everything. It was, no, he does one thing well, and that's wreak havoc. That's a guy who rebounds. That's a guy who blocks shots, sets hard picks. I'm immediately thinking guys like Kendrick Perkins and Steven Adams, you know what I mean, and those kind of guys. So getting Vooch was a little bit different, and we saw the hole immediately in what Billy wants to do defensively is funnel that defense to that center, and then the center does his thing. And it did not work that way because Vooch is not that kind of center at all. So I'm wondering, when you see these kind of guys, Will, does that kind of factor into your mind when you're watching them? Like, does this work for Billy? Because it might work for AK, but honestly, I can't worry about what works for AK because I have to worry about the coach that he hired, who it works for. Does it work for Billy Donovan?
I think he has things that he wants to see out of his basketball team. I think he believes in certain principles of moving the ball, of having good floor spacing, of making the extra pass, of defending at a high level. But I think aside from like those kind of general principles, he's very much about trying to optimize the group that he has on the floor.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
Play to their strengths. And so when you ask, like, is this going to work for Billy? I think Billy will make it work regardless. I think he's shown you that he can put together a good defense with Vooch as the defensive anchor.
Yeah, but that's what I don't want. I don't want him to make it work regardless. I want it to make it work for what he
But
likes.
I think that's an AK question.
Yeah.
Where you have to now pick kinds
Agreed.
of players and say, all right, we're not doing this like jack of all trades thing. We're going to give you a pure 3-point shooter and rim protector.
Right.
And now you build something with that. Or we're going to give you like, a burly like block, back to the basket type of center.
Right.
And you can work around that. Like, I really do think Billy will construct something that works regardless. I think the vision and the onus to create that vision is all on AK and his ability to say, well, look, we needed better floor spacing right now. Do we need to look to the 5 in order to do that? Or we needed a better, rim runner. Do we look to the 5 to be able to do that? So to me, it's like, it's less of a question about what Billy wants because I think he'll figure it out. I think it's more, what is AK's plan? And, he said he's seen enough of this. He said that it's not working. Like, in what ways is he going to make changes? Because that's ultimately going to determine what Billy can do with it. I think that comes back to roster construction.
And I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But I always feel great coaches can make anything work.
Yep.
You can put Tibbs in any kind of scenario. He'll find somebody to make it work. Great coaches do that. But I would want my coach to have what he wants and what he's comfortable with and what I know can elevate him and make this team even better, not something that's a detriment, to him where he's got the extra plan around it. I'm trying to make it more seamless for him
sure.
and simpler. And you're right. It starts with AK and kind of what he believes. So does he think this is what Billy needs or is he more like, I think this is the way I want to go, regardless of who's coaching here?
I think it's the latter. I think he's got to come to the decision of like, but that's also the coach's job to be able to maximize the guys you have on your roster.
Sure.
And I think like you could say Billy has like tendencies or like similarities from place to place, but I think he's also just kind of done the best he can with what he's had. He's played Enes Kanter and Steven Adams together. He's played Vooch and Drummond together, but he's also gone to lineups where it's like Serge Ibaka at the 5 and Kevin Durant at the 4.
Correct.
And now you've got to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more spaced out. Like, I think he's a versatile enough thinker and coach to be able to make anything work. But it's really a matter of like, do you have the pieces to be versatile? Do you have the pieces to be able to be flexible and try those new things? And I don't think there's enough versatility on this roster. I think that's an area where, like, Vooch in theory is versatile, right?
Yeah,
he can do some passing. He can do some shooting. He can play it back to the basket. He can operate as a passing hub. Mm-hmm. But, like, do you have enough guys to be able to, like, you don't have any shooters to be able to come off those dribble handoffs and pull up like a Max Strus or a Sam Merrill or, you know, any of those type of players, Duncan Robinson. Mm-hmm. I think there needs to just be more weapon. And that's why when, like, you ask, do they need a shooter? Do they need upside? Like, they just need everything. They're just so far away.
Yeah.
And yes, they won 39 games last year. It's not like they're a disaster. It's not like they're winning 14 games like the Pistons.
It's in the middle.
But that's how you end up in the middle. Mm-hmm. And they really just need more talent that can do more things to give Billy more options.
Let's pivot and discuss a player y'all also talked to today, Isaiah Collier, along with Colorado's Cody Williams, another member of that Pac-12 all-freshman team for USC. Obviously, of course, everyone needed to get his thoughts on the fact that he knows Caleb Williams, because that's what we talk about in Chicago
and Bronny
now.
James.
I'm going to have to put a timeout here because I did not see the Collier video in the Slack.
That's okay.
I don't think we need to show that
It's
one.
literally just him saying, yeah, we were kind of friends, but not really, but kind of.
All right.
Let's make sure we post that.
It's actually interesting. He's wearing a Chrome Heart sweatshirt, so same as Caleb Williams has been wearing, basically.
Cool. I don't give a shit if he knows Caleb Williams.
A little interesting.
I care about his basketball abilities. And I am very intrigued by Collier, who, by the way, number 12 in that composite mock draft.
Okay.
Right in the Bulls' wheelhouse. 6'5" with muscle, 210. I love that for a guard. His shooting splits are okay. What I love is that among all of these first-round prospects you have in your draft database, he was numero uno in free throw attempt rate at nearly 50%.
Matt loves a free
Only
throw
people getting drafted in the first round in this class that had bigger free throw attempt rates were bigs. He gets to the rim, and he can distribute. His points per 75 are impressive, like 23, 24, 6 or 7 dimes per 75. I like a lot of what he can provide an NBA offense.
Yeah, I just posted the one clip. It didn't really contain a lot of like what he talked about himself. Obviously, he was asked a bunch about Bronny, and we don't have to even address that. But, you know, he measured in a little bit smaller than people thought, 6'2.5". I think people were thinking closer to 6'5" with him, but really just strong built kid. Gets to the lane. He kind of has a similar statistical profile in terms of the way that he produces to Anthony Black last year, who I was pretty high on. Although he obviously really struggled because he doesn't have a jump shot, but really elite defensive player, really good passer, and really good ability to generate fouls. But, you know, one thing that he was saying is he got hurt midway through his season, and he said that, like, after I came back, that's the kind of player that I felt like I should have been this whole time. And he did play a lot better from then on. I think, you know, he said, like, I kind of had to look myself in the mirror. And so it felt like he was kind of just, like, being thoughtful and reflecting on who he was and who he wanted to be as a player. And I like that. I think that's, a really good trait to have, whether it's basketball player or just anything. Like, I think having self-reflection is important. But so I think, for him, it's similar to the forwards we talked about, from Matas to Ron Holland to Castle. Like, the jump shot is going to be the be-all, end-all with him. And I think it's even more important because he is a smaller guard, and, like, he really does need to have the ball in his hands. So he was saying that he can play off the ball, that he wants to be a team player and do whatever the coach that he's playing for needs or asks of him. I think that's probably true, but at the end of the day, like, he also needs to be able to produce in that area. And I think he shot pretty poorly from 3 in the combine. So that's a big question. But in terms of, you know, his skill and his pedigree, like, he came into this draft into this class as one of the highest ranked players. So the skill is there. And I think he did play and perform a lot better after that injury. But there's still some questions. And I think those are a little bit more magnified with a guard as opposed to a wing, and that's why he's kind of slid into the 12 range as opposed to, Matas and Holland and Castle and these other guys who are forward types who are kind of in that 6 to 10.
Was that, you think the injury gave them any pause either at all?
You know what? I don't even remember what the injury was, but he came back and played well, so I don't think it's something that's like a serious long-term thing.
Okay.
Our guy Fish in the comments asking, does he have a good handle? He had a 4.7 per 75 turnover rate, so not ideal compared to some of the other ball handlers.
Yeah, and that was a big knock on him too, but they had such bad floor spacing. That team was just really not good.
So maybe not all on him.
He was asked to create
rate.
A lot with not a lot of space. I think, like Dillingham mentioned this, Cody Williams mentioned it, like they all kind of feel like the added space at the NBA level, not just from like the teammates being able to shoot, but like the literal size of the court and the fact that there's not going to be a zoned up defender standing in the middle of the paint, like that's really going to benefit all these guys. So that's definitely something to look out for.
Were you able to watch anybody play any of the games that were going on?
Yeah, we did see scrimmaging today. I watched the first game and then I left at halftime of the second game.
Okay.
None of these guys played. Basically, like if they showed up, they had to do the measurements, they had to do the media, but it was optional whether they did the scrimmages. And so, like, none of the guys we're talking about today were in those scrimmages. We can talk about some guys that popped if you want, but Bronny did play. He did not look great.
Oh.
Well, he just didn't really get that much of an opportunity.
Okay,
He's not like being critical. He just, he's like a 3-and-D point guard.
Yeah.
That's just who he is. He's a very good shooter. He's a good athlete, but he just doesn't really put pressure on the rim. But he's like diving for loose balls. He's getting up into the point of attack defensively. Like he'd be like, funnily enough, a great compliment to LeBron in the sense that he is like a 3-and-D player that doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands, but tries really hard. Smart player, good passer. Like, I think there's definitely a player there. I think he'll be a late second round pick at best, but yeah.
As far as creating with Isaiah Collier, and yeah, the turnovers we were discussing, he did have the second best assist percentage among all creators, guards, playmakers in this projected top 30, other than Nikola Topic, and I believe that Marquette guard, Tyler
Kolek.
Yeah, there you go. So top 3 in assist percentage for Isaiah Collier as far as playmaking. So
he's a very good passer.
He's solid. Again, the shooting is a question, but like you said, Will, a lot of these guys we've talked about today, a lot of the guys we're going to continue talking about over the next month and change, a lot of it's going to come down to shooting for all of them as far as how useful they project to be on NBA court.
Solid is a good way to describe him physically.
Yes.
He is a bowling ball.
I mean, before the combine measurement, he was listed at 6'5". And a lot of these guys get generous listings, right?
Yeah.
From their colleges or wherever.
Sure.
And so you said he was what, like 6'2.5"?
Without shoes.
Without shoes.
What was the weight?
But 250.
6'2", what?
No way.
Wait, hold on.
No,
Wait,
that
hold on,
can't
hold
be
on.
right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no, 210.
Okay.
I was nervous.
This says 205 on the comment. I gotta
Combine
update
205?
the height.
He's
weight.
got a big build. He
Okay.
sort of reminds me of like Cam Whitmore in that sense a little bit, where he's just got like a
But 6'4.75", so 6'5" wingspan.
Muscle
so
car.
He is plus there. I think he's got a lot of upside as a creator, and that's not like I would not be pissed if the Bulls took him because I think he has that kind of upside. But similar to some of these other guys, there's just a lot of questions about it.
Talked about how I liked Castle for a while. Collier was like the first guy that I liked if we went all the way back.
I
But
definitely remember
he
that.
definitely had a rougher than expected college season. But
Yeah, you talk about him a lot.
he'd be an exciting guy. He's an exciting player.
Okay.
No relation to Jamal Collier.
Speaking of player comps, Sports Chicago Style in the comments said, GOAT reminds me of a young Bob Costas.
Whoa.
I mean, that's a great player comp right there. I could see it.
Thanks.
I could see it.
See it. Well, he's better. I don't like Bob. He cool. Nothing against him. He cool. But
All right, we are out of time for today, unfortunately. Covered a lot of ground. Hope y'all are enjoying this NBA Draft Combine content we're chatting through with y'all this week. We will have more of it. Is there more action on deck tomorrow, Will?
I don't know. I have to look that up.
I don't know.
Well, in the meantime, If you aren't a diehard yet, sign up and become one so you can get access to that great GOAT draft database available now to diehards only
Right now.
on our site, allchgo.com. There is so much good stuff to look through in there. Stat splits, projections, big boards, composite mock draft rankings, all that jazz, including all these players that we just discussed today and more info on each of them. Also, if you want to watch some more videos of some of the players Go chatted with today, just hop on over to his Twitter account after today's show, Will_Gottlieb. He posted a lot of those vids with those prospects from earlier today. Shout out to Go for doing great work at the Combine this week. Awesome to get this kind of inside look for Bulls fans who, guess what, have not quite a top 10, but almost a top 10 draft pick.
Still might get some trade.
Yay!
Who knows?
Oh, so much draft talk ahead.
More.
Big David's at Bow BWL Sports. Our proud producer, Joey, shout out to him, is at Joey Spathis. It is not his birthday, but it is approaching. I am Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. We are back tomorrow, y'all. Same time, same place, 4 p.m. Central with another live episode. Until then, enjoy the playoffs tonight. Make some bets on Circa for 2 Game 5s. And be well.
Yeah.
Until tomorrow. See you, Be good.
Shout out Bob Costas.
Hey.
Peace.
We all silly like